Off, everybody. Welcome, everybody, tonight. My name is Dr. Lee Jensen, and this is the weekly get-together session hangout for the I&E Network. I&E represents Inspiration and Encouragement Network. We've been a circle of talented, creative people trying to figure out how to make a living doing what we do in the marketplace since 1983. The green room's all filled, the film strip tonight, with our members, people who have been playing with us for a long time. In most cases, several of our masters are on tonight. We have a 7-step program of going from an amateur to the master of something and trying to help. The purpose of the I&E Network, the mission of it, is to discover that you have the talent, do whatever it takes to develop that talent, eventually master something, and then once you've got those steps done, then the trick is to learn how to share and lift as you go. And we're a crazy bunch. We've been pals and working at this for a number of years. And this is my 10th season in doing webinar sessions with the internet to try and teach and coach and help people succeed. There's a number of people sitting in out on YouTube tonight, so we welcome all of you that are there or over on my Google Plus account. Great to have you. Pull up a seat and let's get this show on the road. We'll see what we can do to help nudge things along for you a little bit. Tonight, as we get started, I wanted to show you quickly my own circumstances happened just as crazy as perhaps everyone who's in the show tonight. All of us started from such unusual positions. I was a general dentist for years, practiced with my brother, and just did not like fixing teeth. The more I did, the worse it got. And eventually my hobby just kind of overtook my whole flipping life, and all I did was push that issue and see if there wasn't some way I could outproduce with my hobby business the income from the dental business and be able to retire. This is our first brochure. I just found it yesterday or day before. And God, we didn't even know what we were doing at this point. This was in 1983, fall of 1983, and all we did was pick up a thread of interest and just move it along. But the thing that's fascinated me is most creative people really start to discover unusual combinations, things that other people likely would not think of. And I started getting better and better at it. My brother brought a magazine to the office one day, and it was this fly fishing magazine, Rod and Reel. And it's kind of a neat drawing and outline graphic, and so I got the idea of engraving this and giving it to my brother, and then we both sent it to the editor of the magazine. Now all I did was copy that, engrave it on a wooden plaque, and then put Fly Fishing Magazine on it and the editor's name on there, and sent it to him and asked for permission to be able to duplicate the logo for them. And this guy just went crazy. He says, I've got your plaque hanging on the wall, and the whole damn world thinks I won some kind of big award. And he says, it's the coolest thing in my whole office. And so he did a full-page editorial story about this wood carver who did fishing plaques and awards and recognitions. Personalized stuff, and I got a $2,200 page of exposure for free, and then it just spilled on over into other things throughout the fishing industry. So my greatest clue I can give everyone is when you pick up this thread of interest, you do something that just turns you on, then things really have a lot better chance of actually working. And once you get past those beginning stages and start to realize how good it is in the marketplace and economy when you find your way, then those who are new, I think, have a better chance of actually making something work. So let me light up my show here tonight, and we will get this show on the road and see what we got here. Okay, have I got a full screen up?
Wow. Yes, you did.
Yeah, something about Unstuck.
All right. to me, the difference, I've heard it several times before. I wish it was my quote. The difference between a rut and a grave is just a few feet of neglect. And what that amounts to is mostly we just leave things as they are. We don't try to fix things because we don't dare to fix things. And I've mentioned quite a bit this last year, I think the number one problem in all the world is everyone's decided not to decide. Just go with the flow. Just don't bother and don't shake things up. And we were having lunch yesterday, and this was at Village Inn. And I laughed when I saw that little plaque on the table by us. There's a lot to be said for key lime pie, guys. If nothing else works, then jump on a piece of key lime pie at your nearest Village Inn. I saw this graphic earlier and decided to put it up because it seemed to me such an interesting way to approach the subject tonight. Trying to find a way to alter things or maneuver things. I have, without a doubt, have a feeling that the hardest thing for me was getting out of dentistry and getting over into a whole new enterprise. Now, for all of you that's participated with us for a while and know what that's like, that is really a challenge. It is not easy to shift the gears in your life. And the more involved you are, the more difficult that challenge actually becomes. But there's got to be a way to lower the gates, lower the bridge, get something in place that actually starts to change and make things work out. This is one of my favorite concepts. I use it often. The most important days in your life are the day that you're born and the day you find out why. If you can ever dig up this grand dream, this thing that happens in our lives as we take on the more challenging subjects, I would dare guess that the central theme of all of my shows in the last 10 years have been right here. It's the reason I call it Success Mountain. We got 7 big, beautiful mountains around this valley. It's one of the most elegant, beautiful places to live on the planet. But those mountains are a bit challenging. And 97% of humanity stay in the valley and don't take those mountains on because it's just hard to do that. But if you're going to chew on this concept of where are you going to go with the rest of your life, my new book, Opportunity Intersection, the entire theme of it is, what do I do now? We've reached a point in our life where things probably ought to change, and we're beginning to feel that, but trying to figure out how to do it is just not an easy thing to do. From last week, I had the subject from Stephen Covey, the 7 highly effective habits of, I got that all messed up. Sorry, Steve. 7 habits of highly effective people. The second habit is begin with the end in mind, which means the dream. You're going to the other end of your life and your circumstances and trying to determine what could I maybe do with my gifts and my talents. Brian's on with us tonight, and I'm going to ask him to stay and talk about it a little bit on the end of what's just happened. We went to a special presentation in school yesterday. They asked him to come and teach blind and deaf children how to carve and engrave. And so he decided that gourds would be a really good thing for them to do, and they mixed older students with the younger ones to teach them and help them actually accomplish it. But they all did each of these gourds, and they've been mounted on the plaque that's going to be mounted now in the school. And then Brian sandblasted the whole project in Braille, so they had everything going on here, and this little guy here was even a part of the actual program. But what an event yesterday, Brian. I've had some wonderful experiences in my life with this whole deal, but oh my Lord, was that impressive yesterday. He spent 3 months with these kids teaching them how to carve and engrave, and every time they would show each of their pieces, they just would light. You could just see them just light up, because that's their work. And there's so many good people in and around this program trying to help it, but they were trying to cut the budget for it, and it appears that Brian's efforts with it will save the program for the district, school district. So kudos to you. It was called Breaking Barriers, and these were all inlaid pieces of eggshell that designed and made the lettering, and then this is the kids in their individual work. So congratulations, Brian. What another feather in his cap, and he's soon to be off on another trip to Bulgaria. And so we'll have that to brag about and talk about as his art just spreads all over the world. Tonight it's how to fire up your own vision within, and I like to call it starting a fire, because to me, when you heat things up, then things change. If it stays at the same temperature, kind of just stays in a rut. So to change things, what you want to do is fire things up. And I've got a little different approach to trying to go out after that, because this concept of beginning with the end in mind really is effective. It helps make things work to such a tremendous degree. I printed this in my book that's just out. The Opportunity Intersection has in first step at the end of the chapter is a quote from Roger Merrill, who's quite a famous photographer. And I just like you to completely sit back and soak this in again to your thinking. Early in my career, I came across the words of John Muir, the father of our national parks. I love nature, but my vision of the wilderness was nowhere near the ecstatic level of his. So I walked in his footsteps for a year and a half, and it changed my life and my soul forever. The first thing I discovered was that it was my eyes that were clouded, and that nature and life really were just as beautiful as Muir had described. If I was open enough to see. The second thing I discovered was Muir himself. Here was a man who walked into nature, saw its beauty, and let it fill him up. He overflowed, and it came out in everything he did, in the way that he hiked the mountains, in his political activism, in his writing, in his business. It came out in his entire life. Muir was a man who made his life his art, and that was a staggering concept for me. Making my life my art became one of the cornerstones of my creative vision. Now, I was well into everything when I ran across this, but has been said so well. God, you'd be good for you in your life to put this up in your digital journal. If you haven't started using that tool, please get on the Google Plus accounts and get you a digital journal started. It makes it a snap to put this into place. And then this idea starts to rub off. How can you grow old and have it become your art, your living become your art? How can you do it any better than that? This quote I pulled out of my book: there's a gift of extraordinary passion that eternity sends to help us do something special with our talents, and that something special also helps us keep going during the rough times. So when it's stuck, this passionate thing, this extraordinary level of interest, this thing that you've just bothered to get started, is the funnest thing I know to do. We've got a new person from Tennessee, Barbara. I hope she's on tonight. I'm going to brag about her for a minute. She's just got her sandblaster and just getting things going there. And she's a nurse by trade, but used to sell drugs in the medical profession, and now she's trying to find her way into something new. This is her daughter. And with my phone and sending her the profile images that help you figure out, that we have a little book that shows you how to do high contrast images, and this was her first shot at it. Now, nice. She sent it to me today, and I went, oh yeah, Barbara, that's gonna look like $1 million, because our little blaster will render every one of these tiny little details. And what she's done is push the photograph further, and you can use most software programs, digital modification programs, to kind of push it in the direction of doing actual pictures. So congratulations, my dear. And Ron's featured in Ken Brown's newsletter and calligraphy, engraving calligraphy stuff for his contribution. Ron took Ken Brown's courses and got started a number of years ago, and it's just been so fun to know that when you can pass on what you've learned how to do, oh my God, that's an exciting thing. This was on my Google Plus stream, and it really hit me hard. I'm looking at what we're doing right now, and we're firing up a whole new effort and mixing some things and consolidating some things and trying to take care of some new potential in the business. And when I can get a moment of stillness, a moment of quiet and time when I can really think things through, that's good time. And too many people don't bother to go out there thinking this way. If your life is noisy and busy and fast, you're going to struggle with trying to make decent decisions. So there really is profit in stillness. I also just found the tools of the trade. And this was a t-shirt at Cracker Barrel, and I went, oh, bingo, look at that lettering style right there. And since I'm pursuing the Dreamer's Toolbox, guess what's going to happen now with that graphic and the Dreamer's Toolbox? I'm convinced that the thing that makes our life worthwhile is the good habits, and the thing that screws up our living is our bad habits. I think it's why Covey's book made so much money and hit so hard. As they've taught that concept to millions of people the world over. And if we're all in this same kind of paralysis of deciding not to decide, man, that interferes with progress. That just screws everything up, and that then becomes a rut. It locks us into something that we really have a hard time dealing with. And so as you try to say that you're going to do something right now and move yourself in a direction that is more productive, I don't know if you do journal or not, but boy, if you've been hanging out with me all this time and you still don't have a personal journal working, please get my book set up and get this started. I don't have a single tool in my life that helps me get myself unstuck better than the plans and the dreams and hopes that I'm working on. There's just nothing like it. And I've also hit, since January, this sum of good list, the things that you really ought to be targeting, the 7 areas of your life that need attention. We've talked about it for the last 3 weeks. But I'll bet I still got some of you. It is time to rejuvenate your soul. Your purpose in life is to find your purpose and give your whole heart and soul to it. It just is, that's the concept. That's the idea. Finding a way to get past this routine daily living that just crushes most people's heart and soul is the whole purpose of the rest of your life. But Emerson, who I like greatly, said the ounce of action is worth a ton of theory. It's just so fun for me to sit in that program with Brian yesterday and watch everything happen. It drew tears. It was really an emotional experience. And I kept thinking, what if I hadn't stayed with it? And there's not a one of you that don't have the same kind of potential in your life when you bother to influence other people. You've got to come up with a really grand dream and then do something about it. Don't just let it wander around in your brain and get nowhere. But the very first thing you've got to do is think it. You got to think before you can master a new way to be. Isn't that poignant? If you're this person, it's my feeling that most people who are in a constant cloud don't see that about themselves. Their personal experiences, everything's okay, but it's usually somebody else's fault, not their own. And boy, this is a tough place to live. And the older you get, the heavier the burdens become, and the less things work out. And sooner or later, your bad attitude takes over all of your thinking, and you can't. It's so tough to get out of this. It's just hard to. It's easy to see in other people, but it is not very easy to see it in ourselves. And when you're stuck in this rut, boy, does it take a lot to get things changed. It doesn't help when so many things. There's a really interesting ad out on the radio right now where kids at school are learning bad concepts about themselves and they're feeling fat, frumpy, and foolish. And boy, if a child gets started with that bad attitude, it takes a lifetime to sometime to compromise it and get it out. This is my personal motto. I'll share it with all of you. I was in Vegas or in Lake Tahoe trying to decide which way to go, whether to go on into dentistry or continue to give paragraphics a shot and see if I could keep it going. That was about 35 years ago. We've had the same exact 800 number on now for a very, very long time, and I'm proud of that. But I'll share the concept. I saw this on a guy's t-shirt. Having a good time is my job. And that little statement right there launched the whole thing. Is this not the case? Great things never came from comfort zones. Look for the dream that keeps coming back. It is your destiny, folks. It's this whisper. I'm so convinced that all eternity is interested in your future. Everyone who lived their lives and passed that RNA and DNA on down to you are still spiritually out there somehow, and the only thing they can do to mix with this reality of this world is whisper. And when those little whispers come back to you and keep coming back to you and keep coming back to you, then pay attention. It is the way your future's supposed to go. And if you'll do these little exercises, try and extend your personal vision, you've got a really good chance of making it work. I'm finishing up a book called The Seven Fires Within, and it's mixed into a series of books called LifeWise, which are the passionate prescription for better living. And these are starting the fires within. And this is how to get your life unstuck. The first is to find a dream worth living for. And if you expect it, I promise it will actually show up. It really does make all the difference. This is my brother-in-law, and my pal Chris is on the phones now and trying to help people just getting started. And oh my gosh, he's having a good time. Just started on the phones Monday, and I'm so proud of him for just being open and willing to give it a try. Since he lost my sister, and my sister passed away 6 months ago, and they were married together for 30 years and hooked at the hip so tight that it's just been really, really challenging for Chris. So as you're mixing with him, all of you, I hope you will appreciate the circumstances that he's going through. He's got one of the best attitudes I've ever met in my entire life. And welcome aboard, Chris. We appreciate your effort and what you're putting into it. The trick to succeeding is to follow a pattern that someone else has put in place. You spot how someone else did it and then say, you know what, I think I can do that. Finding a dream worth going after. Then what you want to do is up the ante in creativity. Creativity to me is a problem-solving skill, and it's coming at it other than the way everyone else would normally do it or how you would normally do it. What you're after now are new skills here. Every now and again will get somebody in one of my classes, and I'll start opening up the door of how I go after problem solving, and it just blows people off the planet, because I go after it purposely by new design, new thinking. I'm constantly trying to hammer out new ways of making things work out. But most people just stay in the rut and don't even bother. The comfort zone keeps them trapped. This is huge. The third one is to have faith in yourself and the future. Right now we have an absolute storm of negativity. Us overpowering everything. All the three great religions of the world think the world's just about over, and it's so unmanageable. They said, David Amerlin's got a book he's written on trust, and he says it's never been a period in history where trust has been worse off than right now. And so when everything is so bad that way, you just sit back and go, Stephen Hawking yesterday said he doesn't think humanity is going to make it. And that's a hard pill for me to swallow, because how the hell do you take on the future if you don't think there's going to be any? And how miserable is that for kids? You got to live 70 years and enjoy yourself. And the younger kids are going, I believe you, Grandpa. I guess maybe the world is over. And do you know what that does to your grandchildren and your children? I don't believe that crap. I think it's better to look at the fact that the possibilities are incredible, and that humanity has always been pretty good at ultimately figuring out how to solve the problems. So for me, it's self-taught. We do control our attitude, and if we have faith in the future, then we got a shot. Most people don't do a good job of building and encouraging and promoting their relationships or preserving the value of the things in their life that have value. And that is then the fourth great fire, is to incubate the art of your relationships. Learn how to grow these. Make sure that people that are important in your life are getting the attention they deserve. This is my own. This has come out of my 35 years of trying to coach talent. Most who don't do well in the economy are lousy traders. They don't understand how it works. And I'm sorry, but I'm with Donald Trump on this one. We got the worst batch of traders on the planet running this country, and we're losing at everything we try. And we're wasting $1 million a minute on our bad debt. We just can't have it that way. We've got to manage things better. So learning to trade well it's all a perception thing. But believe me, there's ways to develop those skills. And the sixth great fire is the persistence. It's still the secret of all accomplishment. Find something that you just dearly love, and then come hell or high water, stay with it. And the seventh great fire, which is the best one of all, is lift as you go. Learn how to share what you've learned how to do. And the more you are accomplished at that, the better your life will get. It really, really does boil down to these 7 things. I saw this picture and I thought I was going to die laughing. When you get stuck in your life like this and you're just totally helpless, we all kind of know that. We know what it's like to be that way stuck. But this is the stuck that I'm talking about. When we just don't see ourselves well. We're not reading our personal circumstances. And boy, that's the time for consulting. That's the time to have someone else help you look in the mirror and see yourself differently. Try to come at your circumstances with a different perspective. And if you're going to come up with a brand new dream, you got to try and see if there's some way you can't fix things. And I took the 13 and added a couple. If you know you need to find a new way, you get that feeling. It's a constant nagging feeling that just won't go away. What am I going to do with the last chapter of my life? You know you need to change. Your heart keeps telling you that something ain't right. It feels like you're stuck in the quicksand. Somehow you're letting someone down. It's a feeling. It just won't leave you alone. An overall direction of your life feels wrong. You know you're spinning your wheels, doing the wrong things for the wrong reasons. It's been a long time since you felt fulfilled. The bubble of disappointment just won't go away. Another really strong signal is the tone of the people around you is negative. That's when the comfort zone needs to change. The trade of your living is out of balance. You can feel it. These little whispers of new ideas won't leave you alone, and people in your life keep telling you, you know what you ought to do is this and this and this. Once this grand vision of where you're headed and why comes up, and you know I'm going that way, and you get that in place, then then staying unstuck is easier. It is the way to set a course and figure out, okay, with this last precious few years of my life, what am I going to do with it? What can I accomplish? Can I dream it, wish it, and then do it? Get something done. I put this list up for you last week, this 12 items of attention in your life, and then plan or no plan. If you don't have my book, get it. Oh, I was going to mention something. I did the 7 steps and got those printed, and then I've done 7 hours of video. The video for each step is to help get your attention, get you going, get you thinking. It's a little easier to watch it presented on television. And if you bought the book earlier and don't have the DVDs, please just call our 800 number, 800-624-7415, and get a hold of us, and we'll get you a set. I'll email you the copies of the seven steps. If you can buy them each step one at a time, they're $20 for the book and the DVD for the hour to help you begin to understand how to plan the direction that you're going to try and go. This is a hobby into a business of things that people want, not the business of things that people need. And if you bought the book earlier when I didn't have the videos done, if you'll just get a hold of Chris and let us know, we will we'll get you set, okay? So the goal of tonight, the whole purpose of tonight, is to heat things up in your life. It's coming at a good time. Isn't February a good time to heat things up? And let's get you past some cabin fever. Get on with it. Doesn't hurt. Design tomorrow today. Vision is the art of seeing what is invisible to others. It is a tough issue. It requires this uphill effort. But boy, if you can't ever see that light out in the future and know where you're headed, it is so hard to make the decisions. This is the answer to doing something worthwhile with what precious time you have left. Every great dream begins with a dreamer. Always remember you have within you the strength, the patience, and the passion to reach for the stars to change the world. If you want to have a change in the world, you be it. Change is inevitable, but transformation is by conscious choice. How things have been in your life is not how they need go in the future. It is a conscious decision to simplify and concentrate and focus your efforts and begin with the end in mind and play it like a chess game. Not one move at a time. We're going to plan the next 18 moves in your life and get ahead of it. Shouldn't this be you? Shouldn't this be your attitude about your future and your hopes for a better way to express your talent and do something with it? The only thing worse than being blind is having sight but no vision. That one gets me every time I go through it. The target should be the finishing of a really satisfied life. That you picked up your passionate prescription, you took your medicine, and you fired up the remaining days of your life. I used Howard Turpinning last week, but I wanted to remind the new people coming in tonight. My favorite subtitle is Firestarter, so when Howard did this one, I wish I could have afforded this painting. The originals are $1 million a piece now. This guy is by far one of the most successful artists in the country. And when he decides to put a concept down into a painting, they are rather dramatic. But he has a name and reputation now that is just, he's so well deserved. Quiet, thoughtful, hardworking person. But all he's doing is expressing his own individual efforts. And it turns out that his subject matter and his concept are very popular in the West, and his paintings do sell for $1 million each. This is the one. I'm going to airbrush this son of a gun. Oh, I just freaking love that picture. So everyone who wills can hear the inner voice. It is within us all. Is that not what the rest of your life should be all about? when Gary Price put the hands together and came up with the logo, this is called Synergy. It's one of his pieces. And Gary, if you're not connected with Gary Price on Facebook, please do. Gary Lee Price on Facebook. And doing things together makes so much more sense. If you're the kind of individual that's going to just stay to yourself and not mix with other people and avoid everybody else as you grow old, good luck with that. Because to me, what you're going to need is strong, long, ongoing relationships that are feeding your soul, that are supportive of who you are and what you are trying to accomplish. And I think the ID Network represents about as good a shot at that as there is. So welcome to staying tonight. Appreciate you all participating. And let's stop the screen sharing. There we go. Now we got it back for a minute. Hey, there's Jose. Jose's got some fun news. He's just had a great visit. From the time Jose started to now, buddy, I'm so proud of you. You're one of the best friends in my whole life, and there's just nobody works harder at your name and reputation than you are, Jose. So thank you very much, my friend.
Oh, no problem. I had a really good time here at the presentation, and oh man, it just starts you up again. You know?
Gets the juices going, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it does. It's fun for all of you that are outside looking in. We're all friends. We've been pals for a long time, all of us, and the mixture really is supportive. You just have a circle around you that are struggling with the same issues, but similar kind of folks that have a real, I don't know, a drive, a certain inclination to try and do better at your work. And boy, nobody's done any better at it than you, Jose. It's been really, really delightful. Thank you. Appreciate the pictures. I'll use those in maybe next week's seminar and show everybody show you the stuff he's playing with. And I think maybe didn't what happened in the last 2 weeks was like parting of the Red Sea for you, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, it's really exciting. Especially meeting some of the Mark Brown's friends in there. Oh man, that was awesome.
Yeah,
that was really good.
Yeah, I think you've hit great there, bud. I think you're finally there. Nick was here. We went down to see him. Keith, he went down and took some classes from Keith Holm this last little while. How was that for you, Nick? Did you have a good time with Keith?
Of course. It was great. Loved being there, and it was nice for you, Tammy, and Chris to come down and say hello too.
Yeah,
great seeing you guys.
We don't need much excuse to hang out with Keith Holm. He is one of the great people of this world, and he and Nick are fired up a whole brand new idea, so we're going to kind of keep it to ourselves a little longer till things get kind of in place. But honest to gosh, I just sit back and go, how does Keith come up with this stuff? He just keeps cranking out one idea after another. And did you have a hard time driving home, Nick, afterward and thinking of everything?
Yeah, a little bit.
A lot of potential there, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. Came up with some more ideas for using with it.
Other ways to go.
Yep.
Yeah. This is one of the most creative things I think I've ever seen.
Yep. They also went to Bryce Canyon.
Oh, yeah.
Took some pictures there, so all of that stuff's running through my head.
Well, that's the part that's tough about all of our creative brains, is we tend to create a little bit more than we really ought to sometimes. And for me, I have so many interests that's always my problem. I just really have so many irons in the fire. But how better could you grow old than that, huh?
Yep, it was just a great trip.
Good trip.
Yep, and the trip back home went really smooth. So
did it? I was wondering about you. Had weather.
Just a little bit of weather. Vail Pass.
Okay.
Roads had a little snow on them, a little bit icy, but nothing too bad.
really serious.
We're well traveled, so
You old Minnesotans can handle any weather, though.
yeah. But it was a lot nicer trip, and I basically got far enough that on Monday to get past the snowstorm that hit on Tuesday, so made it home.
But we're glad you're
Almost
home
all the
safe.
whole trip was dry.
We're glad you're home safe. Brian, I wanted you to talk for a minute about, tell everybody a little bit how this project with the school showed up in your life. How did this girl find you?
Sandra is her name, and she found me, I guess, by accident, as far as I can tell. She was searching the web for visual or 3D artists, I guess is the best way to put it, and found the egg art. And her initial reach out to me was to try and do something with eggs for the children. And in our time meeting together back and forth, I told her that I didn't think that eggshells would have the strength to hold up, especially with little 4-year-old blind children trying to be creative with him.
Yeah.
So we chose to change it into gourds because they're a lot more forgiving and easier to mount. And then, so her class contains 6 children with disabilities. They're blind and or deaf, and then some of them, like the one you saw earlier that I was holding, Ollie, I don't even know all of his conditions. It's as small as he was. He's 5 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. So there are 6 children with disabilities. There are 2 children in the class that are typical children, but they're there as peers in the same age group. And then there were 8 6th graders chosen to contribute. So the 6th graders were kind of leaving their legacy to the school as they move on to junior high. And then the little children, they're the up-and-coming students into the mainstream school. That's the basis of how it was created. The Utah School for the Deaf and Blind they had a small grant to help pay for the materials and the time.
Mm-hmm. So you did that whole process, and we understand that that's what you contributed has helped save that program now.
Right. The
refunded and going to go forward with it.
Right. I'm not certain who was making the decision, whether it was the Utah School for the Blind and Deaf or the Westmore School or the elementary, but there was talk about pulling that back into everything back into the Utah School for the Blind and Deaf. But because of the positive feedback from that art creation, they're going to leave Sandra's class at Westmore Elementary, which was amazing because when you brought all the students for the first week, obviously there was a little bit of standoffishness. They didn't know each other. There's a big age difference between 5 and 6-year-olds and 6th graders. But as we got into the art part, and I was listening and kind of talking to the 6th graders, especially a few weeks into the project, and a lot of them were saying, I didn't even know about these children. Their classroom is in a trailer outside of the main building.
Yeah.
So, and then they're like, I'm going to be friends with her after we finish this project, and comments like that. So it was just amazing how
the mix was amazing. That's what I saw.
How the art did indeed break barriers that those children probably will carry the rest of their lives, that children with disabilities aren't necessarily to be excluded.
Yeah. Just so fun. I just stood there in amazement thinking, oh my hell, what an amazing thing you've put together, Brian.
And then as you saw, Lou, because you were there to see it, but when I walked in that room, all those children lit up, and that was amazing.
That's got to mess with your head pretty good, Brian.
Yep.
Yeah, that was.
Saw the little Janessa come running up there like her tail end was on fire.
They're just so thrilled somebody was giving them attention and taught them something new. How good was that? Tam, I want you to come on for a second and say how you feel about it. You were standing right there watching. Wasn't that just one of the great moments in our years of history?
It actually changed my life. I know that sounds pretty dramatic, and but it was, like you said, we've been doing this for a long time, and it was really overwhelming. I was so grateful to be there, Brian, and I appreciate the invitation, because to watch those children and watch them with you and how excited they were when you entered the room, but excited to see their artwork being displayed and being recognized. The one little boy, and I'm sorry I can't remember his name, he's just a tiny little thing. When they brought him in the auditorium, because the whole school was involved, when they brought him in, he kept throwing his arms out and was so excited, and he was thrilled to see you. And I just love and appreciate what you've done, and it was life altering, the blessings, and to know that what Lou has created has gone so far and in so many different directions. It was really heartfelt. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I'm glad you were able to go. You
Me too.
That was a good moment. That was one that all of us who were there just stand back and go, God, if you don't have something that's making the fire in your life so that you've got something really decent to get up with every morning and take on the day, don't back off until you find that.
I'm just so proud of Brian, aren't you, Lou?
Oh,
aren't
hell,
you proud of what he's done?
How far he's come and what he's accomplished. Yeah. This. And
now what's this, his fourth time going to Bulgaria?
Oh, yeah. No, I was going to mention, I want you to tell everybody about your trip. I forgot. Europe again?
I'm sorry, what's that?
You're on your way to Europe again.
Yeah, Bulgaria. I'm going. Started in 2011, and this is my fourth time going back to show egg art. And it's become popular enough that this trip's probably going to be an entirely new set of cities. I have not heard from any of the old cities yet if they want me back or not. So at this point we're moving towards whole new cities, and either maybe this time, not certain yet, but if not, then later probably into Romania as well.
Well, and again, you're working with children.
Yeah, children, and then also one of the things that we really, the children I publicize and stuff on my website and places like that. But one of the things that I rarely talk about, and it has a huge impact to me, is in the Baltic and Slavic part of our world, decorating eggs is huge, like Ukrainian eggs, and all through that region there are variations from country to country. Each time I go into a city called Velingrad, that's where some of Bulgaria's most prevalent egg decorators live, in that region. And I've worked with them a number of times now. Through these visits, they have now incorporated pierced patterns into their traditional egg patterns. So, I mean, it's weird. It's weird.
You're changing history. You're changing history.
It seems kind of weird, but I've actually influenced an entire country's art.
Yes, you have. You are changing history.
Yep.
Started something completely new. How cool that.
Brian, are you going to be anywhere? Are you going to be anywhere near Sofia, Bulgaria?
In and out of there. That's where I land. I'm going to be in and out of Sofia all the time.
Yeah, I have a friend that lives in Sofia, and two other friends in Bulgaria. Are you going to have an art show over there, or that I can maybe get them to stop by and see it?
Currently, the cities that are locked are the city of Sopot, S-O-P-O-T. I'll write it in the chat as well, and Ispiri.
Brian, you need to tell them your website, Brian Beatty Studio, and spell it out for him.
Not Brian Beatty Studio. I couldn't get that one.
What is your website so they can go there?
www.brianbeatty.com. I put it in the comments on the.
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
What really happened with Brian Beatty Studios? I bought that name a long time ago through an agency that was doing my website at the time, before Russ was doing them. And when it expired, and I wanted to move it to Russ, they wanted to charge me $1,500 for my own name.
Yeah. That's how it often.
So I told him to keep it, and then I just put Brian Beatty.
Yeah, that's always a way around it. When I couldn't, I did that with Paragraphics, and it just destroyed me because I was just too late on the draw. And this photographic bunch of kids got it, and they wouldn't part for that name with love or money. So that you just make it do. Got to be some way to make it work out. Well, we want to wish you a lot of luck. You leave when?
March 29th.
March 29th. Congratulations on that. Excellent. I have a little more news to present before we wrap up tonight. I got a really important phone call today from the university on Jack's collection, and it's just moving better and better in the direction of the possibility that this $40 million collection of art will stay right here in Utah Valley, and I'm so hopeful. That's something that we just really are working hard to see that happens. And then that'll become a nucleus of handmade fine art, and then that'll be the old masters, and then we'll have all of you who are new masters featured and surrounding that collection, and then we're going after the future masters, the kids that are up and coming, and see if we can't help promote their name and their reputation sooner. It's just so discouraging that the greatest commercial core product in the entire world, the greatest marketing segment is high-end fine art. After everybody's bought their yachts and their plane and their jets and everything else, then they buy art. It is the thing that everyone collects the most. And I think it's because it's the expression of what it means to be a human being. And every one of you who've been playing with this, the stuff you've created this year and signed and dated will be worth more than you can ever dream after you're dead and gone. And all of it will still be impacting the world somehow. I think, how could you make this last chapter of her life and have it be any better than that? Mel won the Veterans Program this year, and his work will be around long after his gone because Mel's is all stainless steel. Brian and I do a little eggshell stuff, and that's not quite the same as stainless. But it's just a good thing to participate in, something exciting to be involved with, and I couldn't be more pleased than playing with all of you guys. So if you need some help with something, get a hold of us. What do you got there, Ryan?
That's his stainless steel.
That's his famous shield. Look at that. Pretty nice.
Brian's trying to edge into the market.
No. This is not edge of your market, my friend. This is sterling silver.
I know, I'm teasing you.
It goes on my kilt.
That's
gorgeous.
Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful.
So there's two of us making jewelry.
Yeah. Yeah, we got a third one. We got a new one coming up right now. I talked to a guy this weekend. His father owns the Cogborn Ostrich Egg Ranch in Arizona. Remember that place, Jose? It's down there by his dad. He lives in Oklahoma City, and his dad owns that ranch. And so now he and his wife are going to jump into this, and they're going to start making jewelry with ostrich eggshells. So we'll see how that all matures now, too. It's so fun to meet these guys this week. It's been quite an exciting week, to say the least.
The industry.
All right, I got to run, guys. It's been great to visit with you. We'll just keep now. The shows this whole year, I'm going to try and move them in sequence to match opportunity intersections. So the first month is this aiming your life part, where you're trying to figure out, okay, what dream have I got to go on? February, March, and April will then begin to move into upscale marketing and pricing and personal branding. And to me, those are shows that are really sharpen the saw stuff. Things that I've said before, but stuff I think you really need to rethink again. Every one of you should be able to up the ante on your pricing this year. And the number one way to do that is get some publicity. You get an article or something published about you, and I found out you haven't raised your prices, I'm going to come and haunt you, because that is the moment and the way to nudge it forward, okay? Anybody else got a comment they want to throw in? Ron, you got anything you want to say? Ed?
No, I'm fine.
Okay.
You're still broadcasting.
No, I'm okay.
Time to shut it down, and we'll catch up with you next week, same time, same station. Probably a similar. See you guys. Thanks much. Appreciate your support. Good night.